upstairs now. I'm cooking dinner. I know. If I was so professional, they'd tell me I had to stop doing that. I'm sorry, it's kind of like a hair snare hit or a little thing on the hi-hat to tell me that it's time to start. A couple of years ago, Rael and I, we were in London, and close to the place we were staying, there was a Lebanese restaurant, and that Lebanese restaurant, they put out this cookbook. So tonight, I was supposed to do vegetarian last night. I didn't. I'm doing mostly vegetarian tonight. I'm doing 3 recipes out of this cookbook. I'm going to make, I did this, I don't even know if I'm even pronouncing it right. It's called labneh, and it's where they take yogurt and they put it through, I'm putting it through a coffee filter. You can put it through a cheesecloth, and the idea is to strain the liquid out of it to make it kind of a thicker, creamier bit of goodness. And there is a technique that they do in Greece as well, where they do that with the yogurt. They let it sit for a couple of 3 days, it gets all the liquid out, and then you're able to roll it into some balls, and you make these little cheese balls, and you put those in some olive oil. Same kind of a deal that they do in this Lebanese cookbook. So I'm doing the labneh with some cucumber, and in here is a beet that I roasted earlier on, and I'm going to probably throw some tomatoes in there as well, just because we have them. And I'm making a version of a moussaka that they have in this cookbook as well. Totally different than the other moussaka with the bechamel. This one is a vegetable moussaka, and we're going to make a sauce out of eggplant, tomato, onion, tomato paste, harissa, some chopped tomatoes. Gonna make a sauce out of that. The other eggplant I'm gonna slice up and I'm gonna grill. I'm gonna slice up some tomatoes. Boom, we're gonna make a little sauce that goes over the top of that with, I don't know, some more yogurt. I thought I brought one out as a prop. With yogurt and some tahini. If you're not familiar with tahini, it's basically peanut butter made with sesame seeds. And then we're going to do, I'm gonna make some pita bread from scratch. I have the oven on, and this is kind of different. I made a flatbread a couple of weeks ago. This recipe for pita bread in this book, it does have yeast, and it is baked versus the other flatbread I did that was in a pan. I have the oven on to 400. It's supposed to be 450, but I kind of had to split the difference because I have to cook the moussaka. And we have, at our house, when we do baking in the oven, we have a steel. It's a baking steel. It's kind of like we used to have these little baking stones. This is a steel. So I've had that in there, and that's been heating up, so it's going to be nice and hot. So I'm going to take a second. I'm going to gather my thoughts. I'm going to get this pita bread dough made because it's going to need to rest a little bit. Then I'm going to prepare the vegetables for the moussaka and the sauce. Oh, and there's also chickpeas. Very, very interesting. It's going to be an interesting moussaka. And they also do a kofta, which I guess just in that portion of the world is kofta is just kind of like a generic name for a meatball. And we've done the kofta before. We actually, you kind of shape it like a hot dog, and they call it a kofta hot dog. Although we don't do it with lamb. Real's not a big fan of lamb. So, all right, so just kick back, enjoy the Waldorf, number 2. Damn, that's one tasty cocktail. Take a second, hit like, subscribe, go to my website, spiderrock.com, buy all that good shit, send me your money, we'll be back. Time-lapse photography. So I'm doing half of the recipe that's in this book for this pita bread, 3/4 of a cup of kind of warm water, and I've got about half a tablespoon of sugar, a half a teaspoon of yeast, because you know what happens, you know the yeast, it eats the sugar, and then yeast kind of either farts or burps. That's what makes things kind of puff up when you make bread or if you're making beer. There is that. We have our flour. Half a teaspoon of salt, I do believe. Let me look over here. A little bit more, that was wet. And let's get some olive oil up in here. I believe, what are we at, 1 tablespoon? Yeah. And I'm not treating this as gently as I would if I was making some other kind of bread. Look at that. Oh, Jesus Christ. I really screwed the pooch on this one. I'm going to put some gloves on so I don't get all floury. I got 1 blue one and 1 white one. Because that's the way I roll. And the full recipe will make 10 pitas. This recipe makes 5 because it's half. And they will puff up. It was weird how when I did make the other flatbread that even though it was just flour, salt, and water, that it's still puffed up. Boom, there we go. That is our pita dough. I'm gonna put a little cover over that. I'm gonna let that sit for a few minutes. And then I'm gonna start getting ready to prep the vegetables for the sauce. I'm gonna do that first, so hang tight. We're still in the first cocktail. Fuck, I know you're with me. Are you with me? Okay, all right. All right, we're ready. I've got my first eggplant sliced into circles. I've got that salted to draw some of that water out. And then I'm going to cook it up on the grill over there. The second eggplant, I did go ahead and peel. I just felt that would be better for the sauce. And I've got the onion over here. Got some garlic. We're going to get this onion cooked up first. Oh no, I dropped an eggplant. Oh, 2 eggplant. God damn, Blaine. We're going to let this cook till these get nice and soft. Then I'm going to add a tablespoon of harissa. I'm going to add a tablespoon of a tomato paste. The harissa was my idea because, once again, some of these recipes, they're not as spicy or as flavorful as you would think, so I'm kind of doing the Del Ridge version of this, just because that's what we're doing. I'm gonna let these cook down, and we'll just hit pause, and you'll come back. It's like watching water boil. Onion's cooking up nicely. It's got some good color to it. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to hold off on the harissa and the tomato paste. I'm going to let this eggplant cook down a little bit. And in their recipe, when you cubed it, just like as I salted these, that's what they said to do. You would salt the cubes and then rinse. I'm not doing that. I don't mind the little extra liquid that's in there. So we have our eggplant cubes in there, and there we go. I'm going to let these go for, I don't know, I'm thinking 6 or 8 minutes on a low heat. Then I'm going to add our garlic. Let that go for a little bit with the garlic, then our harissa and our tomato paste, and we'll be back. Eggplant is getting nice and soft there. I'm going to throw in, I got about 4 cloves of garlic here that I ran through the garlic press. I'm going for about 1 tablespoon of harissa. That looks about good. And 1 tablespoon of tomato paste. And this recipe, it actually called for 1 tablespoon, which it didn't make any sense, but I bought it anyway. It called for 1 tablespoon of tomato puree. But then I got home because I could only get a big can of tomato puree. It's like, fuck, I'm not going to open this whole can. So tomato paste, I'll save the puree for something later. Just going to give that, with the garlic through the press like that, it's not going to take long to get rid of that garlic bite. And it won't take long to, remember to get rid of that raw tomato taste that you get from the tomato paste. Thinking, yeah, that's down really, really good. I'm going to toss in our can of chopped tomatoes. Those are locally sourced. I got those at Safeway. It is a grocery store in White Center because it's on the south side of Roxbury. Boom, there we go. We're gonna let this we'll let this cook down for a bit. I'm gonna slice up these tomatoes. I'm gonna turn on the grill and get the eggplant grilled off. Excuse me, I got a little tickle in my throat. And then I'm gonna do our little tahini. I pulled the tahini out of the fridge because it separates like Adam's peanut butter, where it's not emulsified. There's not like a whole bunch of bullshit in there. So I had to kind of let it get to room temperature so I could stir it up. So I will mix up our yogurt and tahini to make that sauce. I'm gonna roll out the balls for the pita. And so just hang tight. We're rolling, and look at that. Still the first cocktail. Oh my God. Pacing yourself. Pace yourself, Blaine. Pace yourselves, man. Men. Are we on? Holy moly, Jesus Christ, let's get a clicker. Got the sauce going. I think it's going to be good. We're just waiting for the eggplant and the tomato to cook down a little bit. Here is our dough for our pita bread. Pita bread, and it's supposed to be cut into five, excuse me. Get yourself one of these. It's either called a dough knife or a bench scraper. So I'm going to make 5 balls. I'm going to let it rest.
That's not 5.
Okay, well I made 6 just because it was easier math. Listen, wife. Listen, wench. Probably that's Clay Wilson thing. Wench. Wenches and all kind of naughty stuff. Okay, so there's 6. I'm going to just cover this up with the our towel for just a little bit longer. So for the tahini sauce, it's about a strong 1/4 cup of we use the non-fat Greek yogurt. Whatever you want to use, that's what we're using. Not whatever, you can't use like vanilla flavored or anything like that. And then just about, since I haven't made this before, it calls for about a tablespoon of tahini. But we will, we're going to give this a taste just to see what we think. Got the tomatoes are sliced up and ready to go. The grill is heating up, so I will, I need to run down to the basement for a second after I do this. You know what I'm talking about. What do you think? I think maybe a little bit more tahini, maybe some salt. Both. You always got to taste, because you're eating it. So if it's not. If it doesn't taste good to you, add some more stuff to it, because, you know. All right. And I don't have to worry about, me sticking my finger in it and then tasting it, because Rael and I were married. You know what that means. I'll let you give that a taste. I'm gonna let this rest for a second. We'll be back. I'm gonna roll these out, and then I'm gonna roll them out. I'm gonna leave them. Once I roll them out, I'm gonna leave them under the towel, because I'm gonna do those last. You're only gonna take a couple of minutes. I'm gonna once the sauce cooks down a little bit, we will. Ouch! Fucking steam burn. We'll put our moussaka together, but just hang tight. I know my cocktail's gone. That's pretty good pacing. An hour. God. I'm a lightweight. We'll be back. All right, we're ready. I'm going to roll out the pita. We have our zucchini done now. Actually, last week I had done a video for a vegetable lasagna that I made with the bechamel, but my phone fucked up, so you didn't get to see that one. That one I did the eggplant a lot thinner. This one I did it thicker. So here we go. I'm going to roll out just a couple of these. I mean, you've had pita bread before, so you know how big it is. Right? Going like that, a little bit bigger. So there you go. I'm gonna roll the rest of these out, and I'm gonna keep them under this towel because we don't want them to dry out. And then when we come back, I'm gonna put together this moussaka. I'm gonna get that in the oven, and then I will pull the moussaka out. And while the moussaka is resting, we will we'll hit this pita on that baking steel in there. Boom. All right, we'll be back. Yeah, I'm drinking red wine now. What if? All right, here we go. There are our 6 pitas. Those are rolled out. Going to keep them under the towel so they don't get all dried out. There is our sauce made with the diced eggplant, or aubergine. I guess we're the only country that calls it an eggplant. I don't know why every other country calls it an aubergine or a courgette for a zucchini. So that goes in first. On top of that goes the sliced tomatoes. And even though the recipe didn't call for it, I think I'm gonna. What do you think? I should throw some seasoning on these tomatoes. Cool. I think. There we go. A little pepper. That's fresh ground pepper. I do that in the morning. On top of the tomatoes go our can of chickpeas or garbanzo beans, depending on what you want to call them. And then on top of this goes our aubergine that's been grilled. This is going to be interesting. There we go. I'm going to stick this in the oven. I've got the oven on at 400. Remember, I had to split the difference between 450 for the pita and just a little under 400 for this. So I went for 400. I'm going to put this in. Oh, let's go right there. That's going to take about 20 minutes. And in the meantime, I'm going to kind of clean up a little bit here. I'm going to put together our salad with the labneh, the strained yogurt, cucumber, the beet that I roasted, that I've peeled, and we're going to throw some of these little tomatoes on there. And then when it's done, we're going to sprinkle a little mint on there, a little fresh mint I have over here, and some za'atar, which is a really fine, this is a really good seasoning. I think you'd like this. There you go, just hold tight, we'll be back. Okay, I'm about ready to pull that moussaka out. And over here I have some mint that we're going to put on top of the salad, and just a little teeny bit, and then some parsley that I'm going to put on top of the moussaka with the tahini dressing. Sounds like it's bubbling up pretty good. They didn't say in the recipe whether or not it needed to be covered. I put the cover on it because once I put it in there, it's like, yeah, that wasn't going to happen. So here we go with our pitas. Probably be able to put, I think I can get 3 in there.
Are you turning the oven up?
No, it's good.
Oh.
Yeah, I've had that the steel in there for, since before we went on the walk, so it's been heating for a good couple hours to get some of that flour off. All right, there we go. Those are going to take just a couple of minutes. Matter of fact, let's do this so I don't forget. This is going to sit. I'm going to put those pitas in there. I'm going to chop this up. So just hang tight. We're almost done. I think when we come back, we're going to be ready for the finishing move. We are getting close to, it's about 10 o'clock here. We're starving. But, there's been many takes. I burned some things. I messed up the first 9 cocktails, and we had to keep drinking cocktails. And So it's all television trickery. Okay, we'll be back. Okay, here we go. We'll see how this is. So here's our beets, our cucumber, and tomato with the labneh. And it did, it's weird how it did kind of change the taste and the consistency. It was kind of a cheesy, almost, except for the tang, almost like a cream cheese kind of a deal. So that was very good.
I thought it tasted like cottage cheese.
Rail thought it tasted like cottage cheese. So we'll see how this is. You never know, because we don't test any of these recipes. We just kind of do it.
Where's the tahini sauce?
Well, I haven't put it on yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It is vegetarian. It is a big mouthful of good mouthful of goodness. There is the tahini. Yeah, the recipe didn't say to flip these, but I don't know, it just seemed kind of weird. They weren't totally toasted on both sides. We'll see. And I did maybe have a little too much extra. Whoa, extra flour on there. But we'll see. There we go, and then. Now, if you eat a lot of beets, it's gonna make your poop purple. So we're gonna get a little bit of mint on that. Where'd the za'atar go? A little of our za'atar, and then I'm gonna put just a little teeny bit of parsley on that. There we go. Thank you very much. Moussaka, labneh with vegetables out of the Comptoir Lebanese cookbook, and some pita bread. Thank you very much. Like, subscribe. Lord Zippy Blaine, the Duke of the goddamn motherfucking Delaware. It's time to fucking eat. All right, we're out of here.